So you're on the market for new barefoot shoes for working out. I have 8 shoes up here that work exceptionally well for different things. I tried to include a nice wide range of options so you can pick and choose which matches your needs best. It's funny thinking back to like even 2 or 3 years ago how we didn't have that many barefoot shoes options for training, but now we have a ton. So I'm gonna timestamp all the shoes down below. I also have a written roundup covering my favorite barefoot shoes for training. That is linked down there in the description and the first comment. And I just filmed a roundup video covering my best barefoot shoes. I'm linking that up there. But all that said, let's dive into the first model. All right, so the first model I want to cover is the Vivobarefoot Motus Strength. So who do I think this model is going to be best for, and how do I like to use this shoe? So if I am lifting, cross training, and doing any form of CrossFit WOD and I want a barefoot shoe, the Motus Strength is usually my go-to. So with this model, 3 things to like about it is number 1, it has a little bit more of a rigid upper construction. So as you can see, we have a more beefed up sole that wraps around the medial and lateral side of the shoe. It also covers the toe box. And so in the context of CrossFit, for example, if you're doing rope climbs or anything where you're gonna be dragging the toes, so doing a lot of burpees, this model is gonna give you a little bit more protection and a little bit more bite in doing so in the context of rope climbs. The second reason why I like this shoe is it has an awesome grip. So compared to like the Primus Lite Knit and the Primus Lite 3, which also work exceptionally well for lifting, this model's outsole is a little bit more grippy with its lugs. So if you do want a bit more grip with your Vivobarefoot shoes for training, that's where this model is going to excel. And then the third reason why I like this shoe is if you're somebody that likes a little bit more boot and ankle support in your barefoot shoes, and you often find that they're just a little bit too loose, or you just wish there was more support throughout the midfoot and the heel of your shoe to just give you a more lockdown feeling, that's where the Motus Strength can excel. Now, a couple of reasons why the Motus Strength can fall short is number 1, it's not gonna have the best breathability. With its more rigid upper, I find that my feet run pretty dang hot in the shoe. And then number 2, it's pricey AF. So this model costs $200. Now, I do have a code for Vivobarefoot. It's down there. If you use it, it supports the channel. But all that said, I am not recommending buying this shoe and stretching your bank account. If you don't have the means to do so, there are a lot of other great options out there. And then when it comes to sizing of the Motus Strength, true to size should be the call. I find that this model runs a little bit more true compared to the other Primus models. So if you have additional questions on the sizing of this shoe, definitely drop a comment down below because Vivobarefoot can be a little bit finicky with the sizing, but overall, this is gonna be one of your best options for lifting, cross training, and CrossFit. The next model I wanna cover is the Inov8 Bare-XF. So who is this shoe gonna be best for? If you are a beginner to barefoot shoes and you want a shoe for lifting and cross training, that's where I think the Bare-XF can excel. And now 3 reasons why I think this and 3 reasons why I like the Bare-XF is number 1, and this is why I recommend them for beginners sometimes, is with this boomerang footbed in the shoe, you do get a little bit more cushion and padding. So it's not gonna be as sharp of a shift, or at least that sharp of a feeling of a shift to this model compared to other barefoot shoes that don't necessarily have as much cushion or a little bit more forgiveness for training purposes. So if you are brand new to barefoot shoes and you do want a little bit more shock absorption for jumping, lifting, etc., that's where the Bare-XF can excel, and that's because this boomerang footbed. The second reason why I like this shoe is it's very articulative and it has really good grip with this outsole here. So with the tread in this shoe, I don't think slip is ever going to be an issue. It has a lot of articulation too through the forefoot and midfoot, and so despite it not having a finished internal construction when this insole is out, I don't think you're going to lack out on flexibility if you leave that insole in, and I wouldn't necessarily stress that at all in this shoe. The third reason why I like this model is its sock-like fit and its breathability. The shoe is very comfortable and it feels very secure on the feet. This mesh upper breathes really well, and so if you want a shoe that is very comfortable to train in without socks or with socks, because I like to train without socks, and yes, I know there's going to be comments down below, it's like, ooh, that's gross, bro, but I like to do it, and this is a comfortable shoe to do so in, so if you're similar, I think you will enjoy this model. Now, a couple of drawbacks that come along with this shoe is if you do want that super flat barefoot shoe for powerlifting or just strength training purposes, this might not be your best bet. Granted, I have not had an issue with this shoe, but it does have a bit more of a rounded sole, so for my powerlifting focused friends who want that very flat outsole and sole construction, definitely consider that. And then number 2, the laces can run a little bit long at times, which is really not the biggest performance drawback, it's more so just annoying. When I double knot these, I kind of have to tuck my laces. It's just not the most aesthetic thing, but really it's not the biggest deal. Overall though, the Bare-XF has been really solid. And then regarding sizing, you should be safe going true to size in this shoe. It has a fair amount of width here through the forefoot and the midfoot, and despite it having a little bit of a taper, this midfoot isn't super aggressive, so true to size should be the call for most foot anatomies. The next model I want to cover is the Tolos Archetype 2.0. Now, what is this model gonna be best for and who will it be best for? So if you are somebody that needs a barefoot shoe for lifting, cross training, but then also daily wear, that is where the Archetype 2.0 is going to excel. This is often a shoe that I language as like a do-it-all style shoe, so if you just want a singular shoe for also dressing up but then training in, that's where the Archetype 2.0 can fall in line. Now, 3 things to like about the shoe. Number 1, the appearance. I find that the Archetype 2.0 looks really good with a lot of different outfits. So if you want that barefoot shoe that you can wear out and about in the town, to the bar, to coffee shops, to run errands, etc., but then also to the gym, that looks pretty good. I like the Archetype 2.0. The minimalist branding is a hit. There's only branding up here on the tongue and the heel, which I am a big fan of. The second reason why I like this shoe is it gives you a ton of ground feel and a ton of ground feedback. So with this model, you do get a separate insole that comes with it, but it's built with this finished internal construction and it doesn't come with an insole. So if you are a purist and if you love that ground feel with your barefoot shoes for training, that's where the Archetype 2.0 can excel. And then the third reason why I like this shoe is the upper construction feels very sock-like on the feet. So similar to the Bare-XF, this is a model that I will wear with and without socks. Now, granted, because we do have a polyester upper and it doesn't breathe as well as the Bare-XF, I will rotate sock wear with the shoe a little bit more frequently. So keep that in mind if you are somebody who plans to train sockless in your barefoot shoes, but you might have stinky feet sometimes like me here and there. Now that said, 2 cons that come along with the Tolos Archetype 2.0 is number 1, if you have super high insteps or super thick feet, sometimes this model can be quite a pain to get on. Now Tolos has fixed this compared to the Archetype 1.0, so it is a lot better, but if you do have like sweatier feet, for example, and a thicker foot at that, this model can be a bit of a struggle to get on, but honestly, it's not the biggest deal, and I don't think it really hinders that many folks. And then number 2, if you are a power lifter and you need the max amount of grip possible, sometimes this outsole can kind of fall short. I find that it grips plenty fine, but on certain surfaces, if you need maximal grip, that's where the Tolos Archetype 2.0 can fall short regarding some lifting specificity. Overall though, this model is very strong in the gym, so I don't think that's gonna be a huge issue for most folks. And then regarding sizing, true to size should be a safe and good call in the shoe, but obviously hit me in the comments below if you have additional sizing questions on this model. The next model I wanna cover is the TYR DropZero Laced. So this model is gonna be best for anybody that wants that barefoot shoe for training, some daily wear and casual wear, and you just really like knit shoes. So if you like lighter weight upper constructions in your training shoes and barefoot shoes at that. So 3 things to like about the DropZero Laced. Number 1, the TYR Tack outsole is wicked grippy. So the grip is not gonna be an issue in this shoe, whether you're lifting, cross training, using this for CrossFit workouts, etc. I don't think you're gonna have slip issues at all in this shoe. And the second reason why I like this model is the knit upper, I think just feels more comfortable compared to the Primus Light knit. And so I like the Primus Light knit, but some issues that I have with that shoe is that the tongue could press into the top of the foot when breaking it in. And then also there's like awkward creasing. In this model, I think the creasing issue is way less prevalent compared to the Primus Light knit. So as a whole, the knit upper, I think in this shoe is just way more comfortable and form-fitting for a wider range of foot anatomies and gives you less issues when breaking the shoe in. The third reason why I like this model is the high level of articulation and flex through the sole. So this model has a relatively low stack height, a ton of flexibility, and it does give you a bit more structure back here through the lateral and medial boot, so it does help you lock that foot down, which I think is a nice addition because with this knit upper, it can feel a bit loose, so having that additional level of support can give you a more lockdown feeling when training. I think if you're on the fence between this model and the Primus Light knit, I would say probably go TYR DropZero, plus they do cost a little bit less, which is also a perk. Now, a couple of drawbacks with this shoe. Number 1, when you have a knit upper construction, you gotta remember that you might not have the most secure foot position when doing lateral work and whatnot. I haven't had many spillover issues in this shoe. However, with this knit upper, you don't have a lateral sidewall here, so if you are a very lateral focused athlete, you might wanna consider that with this shoe. That is gonna be very niche in nature. The second drawback that I have with this shoe as well is that despite it costing a little bit less than the Primus Light knit, it still is pretty pricey at a price of $150. Unless you really want a knit shoe in like a booty style construction shoe, and you're not really necessarily super into those construction features, there are options in this list that cost anywhere from like $50 to $40 less and perform just as well in the gym. So definitely shop around if you're not necessarily sold on the niche construction features of this shoe or just the overall appearance of this model. Now, when it comes to sizing in this shoe, true to size should be the safe call in this model. There isn't an aggressive taper here through the midfoot into the forefoot, so for most foot anatomies, true to size should be a safe bet in this model. The next model I want to cover is the AVANCUS Apex Power V2. So who is this model going to be best for? Powerlifters and folks who are focused on strength training. When it comes to powerlifting, if you're looking for a barefoot shoe, it's really tough to beat the Apex Power models. And so the 1, the 1.5, the V2, or the 2.0, I feel like they've all been really solid. Now, 3 reasons why I like this shoe. Number 1, the grip. So with the Vision grip in this shoe, when I talk about like the Tolos slipping sometimes in bench press, I do not think you're gonna have an issue with that in this model. This model is what a lot of really strong pro powerlifters use, and honestly, if it's good enough for them, it is definitely good enough for us common folk who are lifting far less than them. So all that said, if you are very focused on grip, I don't think you're gonna have an issue with the Apex Power V2 whatsoever. The second reason why I like this model is with these lateral and medial sidewalls, you get a good level of locked down support in the shoe. You also have a TPU layer around the toe box, and the upper is a little bit thicker and more rigid, so you do get a nice level of security when doing sumo deadlifts or any form of lateral work. So if you are somebody who's constantly pressing into the lateral parts of your shoes, for example, when sumo deadlifting, that's where the Apex Power V2 can come into play. The third reason why I like this model is you do get a ton of articulation with the shoe, and it has a removable insole with a finished internal construction. So if you want to get as close to the ground as possible and you need that pair of shoes for competing, this can be a great option to go with. Now, two drawbacks with this shoe. Number one, it's not the most breathable, and it's also not going to be that barefoot shoe that I think you're going to want to wear out and about. It doesn't have the most like casual appearance to it, and it's honestly my favorite model for more cross training and CrossFit focused workouts. So that said, it is a little bit more narrower in the scope of its use. It is designed for lifting. Use them as so, and I think you'll be happy with them. The second drawback that I have with the shoe is the sizing can be a little bit wonky. Now, with this model, it's a 10 to 10.5. I am a size 10. I wear a size 10 in all of my shoes, and I find that this shoe just runs a little bit more long than I would prefer. It doesn't necessarily hinder its performance, and it doesn't necessarily turn me off, but what I have to end up doing is cranking the laces a little bit tight. And as you can see, like I left them laced on purpose, but they're pretty close together right here regarding the midfoot here and how this top of the midfoot is coming together with the laces. And that's because it does run a little bit long, so I have to crank the laces tight to get them secure. So all that said, when you are thinking about sizing with this shoe, if you like a snugger fit, you might want to actually size down. Definitely ask AVANCUS before you buy if you are in that boat, or drop a comment down below and I can help you accordingly. But I think if you have wide feet, or if you just like a little bit more room in your toe box, true to size should be a safe call in your context. Maui is back once again, asking me to tell you to subscribe to the channel. It helps put kibble in his bowl. But all that said, let's get back to the video. The next model I want to cover is the Notorious Lift Radix. Now, who is this shoe going to be best for? So I think if you are somebody who is primarily focused on powerlifting, strength training, and you want that model that can excel for those, but also be worn a little bit more casually, that's where the Radix is going to excel. So I kind of put this shoe in the same product category as the AVANCUS Apex Power V2. But where they differentiate is that I think the Radix just has a little bit more range regarding its training capabilities, and it's more daily wear focused use. So three things that I like about this shoe is, number one, the outsole grip in this model is really good. So if you want a lot of grip in your shoes for training purposes, this model can be a great option to go with. This rubber tread does a really good job on different surfaces. Mine is actually starting to fray a little bit, but I've been playing a lot of pickleball in this shoe, and honestly, they've held up really well. So I have been impressed because this model is not designed for that type of concrete use, but the grip has still been pretty dang solid. The second reason why I like this shoe is its price point and the range you get for that price point. So at $100, this model does a really good job for a lot of different styles of training. I have used these for athletic focus sessions, and they've done really well. I have used them for heavier strength sessions, and I've enjoyed just the overall security that you get with the upper and the grip that you get with the shoe, and how you get a bit more support from the lateral and medial sidewall wraps here with the sole construction. The third reason why I like this shoe is its casual appearance. So while this model doesn't necessarily look as good as like the Tolos Archetype 2.0, I do find that it looks good enough to wear out and about casually. With this shoe, you only have Notorious Lift branding back here on the lateral heel and then up here on the tongue. So it is a good shoe to rock casually here and there, and you get a ton of flexibility with the shoe's 3.3mm stack height sole. Now, two drawbacks with this shoe. Number one, the tongue doesn't have the best security. So the tongue is not gusseted and there are no loops here. So if you are somebody who's doing a lot of lateral work or just a lot of walking in the shoe and you like to wear them looser like myself, this tongue can move a little bit, which isn't the biggest deal for performance. It's one of those things though that just kind of gets annoying if you are OCD sometimes like myself. And the second drawback with the shoe is if you are brand new to barefoot shoes, you may want to look into other options just because this model is very minimalist feeling, and so it's not going to give you the most cushion or forgiveness if you are brand new to this footwear and you plan to do jumping and whatnot in this model. Now, when it comes to sizing, you're going to want to size up a half size in the shoe in my opinion. If you have wider feet, you might want to go up a full size. I would say before you buy, If you are very nervous about which size you should go with, drop a comment down below or reach out to Notorious Lift on Instagram or through their customer support because they can help you too. But definitely sizing up in this shoe is gonna be a safe call for most folks. The next model I wanna cover is the 100 Aerolux Barefoot. So where's this model gonna excel and fit the best? So if you are somebody who has a narrow or medium foot width and you want a barefoot shoe for lifting and strength training and just also some casual wear, that's where the Aerolux Barefoot is going to excel. It's kind of similar to the Radix, however, I think this model will fit narrower feet a little bit better just because of the upper volume and the width of this shoe. Now, 3 things to like about this model. Number 1, if you have a narrow, medium, or slightly wider foot width, this can be a really good option to explore. So sometimes barefoot shoes, especially wider barefoot shoes, they can feel a little bit too wide for certain foot anatomies, and then you almost feel like you're swimming around in them when you're training, or you just can't get the upper secure enough. With this model, I actually like that it almost has like a snugger fit sometimes because I think it's gonna open up the door for more foot anatomies to find options that work really well for them. The second reason why I like this shoe is the grip. So with this model's grip, I don't think you're gonna have issues whatsoever in the gym when you are strength training, but then also to add to that grip, you have a very flat sole construction. So for my friends who love that flat sole, this is gonna be one of your better options, or also the Apex Power V2 will be an awesome option for my folks who really want that like flat sole feeling when you're deadlifting, squatting, etc. The third reason why I like this shoe is it's also one of those models that you can wear casually outside of the gym. So you have a little bit of 100 branding back here on the lateral heel and up here on the tongue, but for the most part, like the shoe can look pretty dang casual. I like the white colorway honestly a little bit more than the black colorway. So if you are a bit more casual, I would say go with that model. That's also why I think I like the Radix as well for daily wear a little bit more than this one, just because the colorway matches more outfits better, and I'm not good at style, so it just makes my life a little bit easier sometimes. And now that said, 2 drawbacks that come along with this shoe. Number 1, it's not necessarily my favorite barefoot shoe for cross training and more functional fitness focused workouts. With its flatter sole construction, while it can work for those activities, I just like a shoe that has a little bit more pliability and more of an athletic fit regarding its sole for those contexts. So this is definitely going to be a barefoot shoe that is going to be best served for some cross training, but mostly lifting. The second drawback that I have with this shoe is that if you have an exceptionally wide foot or a very high volume foot, you might want to look into other options. The upper volume in this shoe is a little bit lower, and again, it's not necessarily the widest barefoot shoe in the game, despite it having, I think, more than enough width for most foot anatomies. Now, when it comes to sizing in this shoe, similar to the Radix, I think you're going to want to go up a half size to begin with in this model. If you have a wider foot and if you just want to hedge your bets on this model giving you enough width, size up a full size. I think that should be a safe call. But again, if you have additional questions on sizing with this model before you buy, drop a comment down below or reach out to 100. The final model I want to discuss is the Xero Shoes Neo Prio. So who is this model going to be best for? So if you are a beginner to barefoot shoes or just a generalist with your training and you want that barefoot shoe that you can wear for a little bit of everything, that's where the Prio Neo is going to excel. Now, you know what's funny? Almost 3 years ago, I was wearing a lot more Xero shoes, but I feel like because we have so many other options out there, I actually wear Xero shoes a lot less than I used to. However, when I do reach for them, it's usually the Prio Neo or the Zelen, depending on what I'm doing. Now, 3 reasons why I like the Prio Neo. Number 1, it's a good shoe for doing a little bit of everything. So if you need that shoe for lifting, cross training, doing some functional fitness, some short runs, and some daily wear, the Prio Neo can kind of do it all. That's kind of how I use the original Prio, and the Prio Neo I think does a better job just because it looks a little bit better too. Granted, it still has kind of that kind of clunky Hirashi design, so it's not necessarily my favorite for daily wear, but it's definitely better than the old school Prio. The second reason why I like this shoe is the level of articulation that you get and the fact that you have an insole that can be taken out with a finished internal construction. Oh my gosh, did you guys just see that dust come out of there? I wore these last time outside and there's a bit of dirt and dust coming out. But that said, you do have a removable insole, so you can get a little bit more of a variety of cushion with this model, and so that can be a good thing also for beginners who want a little bit more forgiveness when rocking their barefoot shoes and acclimating to them. And I've actually filmed a video on acclimated barefoot shoes that is linked up there. Now, the third reason why I like this model is the price point. So this model costs around $100, and so it is a pretty safe bet regarding giving you a good range for the price, and generally speaking, they last a while, and Xero Shoes typically does a pretty good job at honoring if they do break down really fast on you. Now, 2 drawbacks with this shoe. Number 1, it's not the best looking shoe. It looks better than the original Prio. I said that earlier, but honestly, with this Hirashi style design, I honestly like my Zelen a little bit more regarding its appearance. It is definitely a more handsome model for Xero shoes in general regarding their training shoe lines. And then my second drawback with the shoe is if you're somebody who's looking for that shoe primarily for strength training and powerlifting and you have an exceptionally wide foot, this model's width may fall a little bit short for you. You might want to look into the Apex Power V2 or the Radix and size up obviously in that model, as I mentioned earlier. earlier because this model's width can feel a little bit limiting at times for certain foot widths. Now all that said, when it comes to sizing in the Prio Neo, most folks should be safe going true to size. If you have a wider foot and you want to hedge your bets regarding width, go up a half size and that should be a safe call for your needs. All right, y'all, hopefully this video helps you kind of navigate which barefoot shoe you should go with based off of your needs and your training style. If you have additional questions on any of these models, drop a comment down below and I can help you sift through which shoe would be your best bet, or you could slide into my DMs. I answer everybody's DMs and messages, so whichever you prefer. But all that said, drop a like on the video, drop share the channel. I will see you guys in the next one.